Hi, I'm Megan Downs with News in Depth. This is a special schools edition covering the career and legacy of Superintendent Richard DiPatri. We're here reporting to you from the Brevard County School Board District Headquarters, where DiPatri has presided the last 9 years. DiPatri will retire on June 30th as Brevard's longest-serving superintendent. He'll also be the longest-serving appointed superintendent in Florida history. Other superintendents have served longer, but were of course elected by the citizens. Throughout his tenure, DiPatri has built a reputation for himself throughout the state and most notably in the district. He's been credited with raising FCAT scores and graduation rates to the highest in the state. He's been a champion of adding rigor to high school courses and developing career academies that suit the needs of all students. But he's not without his critics. Charter schools claim he doesn't support them. Politicians say he uses unfair practices to make his point. He's often been called an autocrat with a my way or the highway attitude. I recently caught up with Dr. DiPatri, who turns 63 this April, to ask him why now is the perfect time to retire.
Age. I'm getting old. You know, I've been 40 years in this business, and I think committed. I put a lot of time in. Take things too seriously sometimes, but you know, it's just time to move on. And move on meaning move to retirement. I'm not going to another job, although I suspect I'll be doing, you know, odds and ends for people who may want to use me in some way for consulting or something. But you know, it's like most people, and in no way does this sound like a complaint, but you know, it's a full-time job. You never it's 24 hours a day, and you always have issues, sometimes in the middle of the night, and I think in some respects you cheat your spouse a little bit. I think it's about time I spent some time with my wife and my grandchildren, which I didn't have when I came here, but now have 5 grandchildren, so kind of looking forward to it. But it's been a great district. I mean, I'm very pleased to have taken this position. I think I've left some value added to the system. I hope so. And you know, and I think I've left the district in a reasonably good position.
DiPatri took over the helm 9 years ago, but his career as an educator started much earlier than that. He began as a science teacher and coach in the 1970s, but it wasn't long before he realized that he'd be much more effective in the director's chair.
I think it was probably more athletics, an interest in athletics, and wanting to be a coach first, before I realized that coaching and teaching are basically the same thing. And I didn't actually realize that till I got into my first job of teaching, and how positive you can be of an influence on kids. And so that got me in. And then when I got in, I thought for sure, you know, my plan was to just be a teacher and a coach, and I was pretty good at being a coach. It was mediocre at a teacher, but I loved coaching, and I liked teaching too. And then I realized when I was in a couple situations that management just didn't seem to understand that it was about kids, and it wasn't about buildings and lunchrooms and buses. And I just thought I could do a better job helping more kids if I were sitting in the assistant principal's chair or wherever.
In 2000, Brevard County School Board chose DiPatri to run the district. Previously, he was a 3-year superintendent at Jersey City Schools, an urban center outside of New York. He'd been appointed to come in and clean up that Jersey district that had academic and financial problems.
Dr. DiPatri happened to come in at a time in the 2000s when Florida was entering into its probably highest standard of accountability. With the FCAT coming on board, we've never had accountability from the state level like that before in Florida from in the 70s and 80s and 90s that I've been here. So that pressure of accountability, school-based scores, school grades for the first time ever was what I'm talking about. And when that board selected him, their challenge to him was to take us to the next level.
And that's just what he set out to do. Brevard was an adjustment for Dr. DiPatri. He had a bare-knuckles, aggressive style that infuriated politicians and other officials who weren't used to strong local school administrators. And almost a decade later, politicians are still accusing him of using political stunts and New Jersey hardball tactics to make his point. In a town hall meeting this February, DiPatri stood up in front of 10,000 teachers and parents to take on legislators. He wanted them to provide a constant funding source for schools.
I started out tonight not to respond, but I need to tell you, and Representative Workman, I would suggest to you, the local tax you're talking about, it's not, why do we want to tax Brevard only for what is a state responsibility? You know, when we started this, if I could finish my statement, when we started tonight, we all said we want to listen, and all we asked for is straight talk, okay? Straight talk. No, that's not straight talk, Representative. Believe me, it's not. Education, understand, it's a constitutional responsibility.
Politicians said at the time that he ambushed them. Hate mail flushed their offices. Parents rallied the Capitol in Tallahassee. County lawmakers told Florida Today that they were disappointed when DiPatri took the microphone and riled up the crowd. Senator Thad Altman said at the time, quote, "He got us off track and degraded the forum. I would expect more from a person who is making more than $250,000 a year," end quote. We asked Dr. DiPatri how he thought he was regarded in the community.
If you ask the people around me, they would say one thing. If you ask someone who has a kind of distant view of what they read in the paper and so on, my guess is kind of a little tough, and in fact your newspaper has written that way a little bit, you know, a little tough, but I don't think tough is the right word. I think it's, I perceive myself to be a very honest administrator. I mean, I tell people what I see, I try to be humane about it, but you know, what you see is what you get, and if I've got a problem, I like to be sure that I'm identifying it properly. And so sometimes you have to be honest. You can't beat around the bush. You know, everybody likes to be looked upon with respect, and but I hope above all else, no matter what, that those people would say he's a person of high integrity, because I perceive myself to be that. Whether they do or not would probably be important to me.
One thing is for sure, the respect that his senior staff has for him. They have an up-close look at DiPatri's administrative style and his motives. His decisiveness makes him a good leader, they say.
I think CEO or executive type leaders like superintendents or Mr. Lance at Harris, they all have different parts of their style. And there's certain situations when you're a leader. And Dr. DiPatri, let's face it, is the educational leader for Brevard County. Over 500,000 people here look to him to provide leadership for our schools. And that's to high education, quality education, budget issues, you know, that we don't go bankrupt. So I think great leaders have different facets of their leadership style that they employ depending on the situation. And for planning and creating a positive school system with his cabinet, the teamwork approach is Dr. DiPatri's greatest strength. In dealing with other issues, he's just like any other CEO. It's a yes or a no, you know, because we don't really need you on our team as internally as we do here. But yes, he can say no to you and mean no, but so do other leaders. You know, I see him as a multifaceted, high-achieving leader, which is what we needed for the last 9 years.
He is a very demanding boss, and I think you would expect no less. It's a large district. I mean, you know, we're the 46th largest school district in the country, so it's a big business, and people, I think, don't really think about that a lot of times. With 10,000 employees, roughly, it is a very big operation, and it takes a lot of teamwork. The senior staff very much operates as a team, and he'll say that. We don't do it in isolation. Of course, he makes the ultimate decision, but he asks us to bring forward new and different ideas and to challenge thoughts at times to make sure that we've covered every base.
Robert Jordan, the Brevard County School Board Chairman, says DiPatri's authoritative attitude has helped the board make more informed decisions.
So those who feel that maybe he was brash or he was bringing in the New Jersey politics, I don't think he was bringing in New Jersey politics. I don't think he was bringing in anything negative. He was bringing in Dr. DiPatri. And when you have Dr. DiPatri, you have the whole person. You don't have someone who is trying to play favorites with anyone. We butted heads before, but to me it just has endeared me more with him because I think we had gotten to a position in our relationship where we trust each other enough that we can do that without worried about, well, Robert's the chairman now, Robert's a board member, and he can fire me. I admire the fact that Dr. DiPatri never feared his job being taken away just because he's trying to do the best possible job he can for the kids. On the contrary, he knew that if he didn't do the very best, then he would have a problem. He would have a problem with me.
It's often hard to ignore the impact that many of his decisions have made. Brevard was always a top performer in Florida, but DiPatri found a way to capitalize on the district's strengths. Take science, for example, where Brevard leads the state in the amount of students winning science fairs and often ranks the highest on FCAT exams. Brevard has 23 of the state's 26 music demonstration schools, leading Florida in music curriculum and programs. His Secondary Schools of National Prominence program has helped reshape curriculum in middle school and high schools. Now, students by the 7th grade have a career plan through individualized meetings with guidance counselors. By high school, they are taking specialized career courses in a field of choice, such as engineering or culinary arts. Some students have certificates in their field of choice upon graduation. All this culminated 2 years ago when the district won the Florida Governor's Sterling Award, the highest award given to businesses in the state, awarded based on their accountability practices.
One of the things you learn as an administrator is find where your successes and weaknesses are, or strengths and weaknesses, and feed the strengths with resources if necessary, and try to find ways to make it stronger without putting your nose in there and trying to change everything, because obviously it's successful. And so when I saw our science program, our music program, those two alone were, nobody is in our ballpark. We're that much better than everybody else, whether you're looking at science research, robotics, mathematics, and so on. So I support all those things, and I try to feed them in a sense and give them the resources they need, and then look at areas that need my attention.
Many say one of the highlights of DiPatri's tenure will be his 7-year facility plan. DiPatri oversaw the district at the height of its enrollment, with over 76,000 students at one point. The county's growth led to the construction of several new schools, including Heritage High, Sunrise Elementary, and Meadow Lane Intermediate. The district also spent more than $554 million on 104 school-specific building projects and renovations that upgraded technology, science labs, and classrooms. Many projects were at schools that were more than 40 years old.
One of the things that I'm most proud of that we were able to accomplish, and it was in no small part because of him, and that was our 7-year facility plan. We had a huge problem and a disparity between those kids who are going to a brand new school with all the new technology and new facilities, and all our other kids in the district who was utilizing old facilities. We have always done a great job of maintaining our facilities, but we were lacking when it came down to those who had and those who didn't. And the majority of our kids did not have. A good example, and it was very political, was the auditoriums. North Brevard didn't have an auditorium. And as far as I was concerned, we had culture just like everybody else. My daughter, of course, is in the arts program, so she's in the band and the orchestra and all that good stuff. We have good football teams, but they were sharing a football field, Dre Field, that has now been dismantled. But it was something that I believe that Dr. DiPatri will always be proud of, because when he goes to this district, he's going to see that not only our older schools are up to par, but our newer schools are something to behold, especially if you look at Heritage High, which is a beautiful facility.
And when there's not enough money to support the programs he would like, DiPatri has gone out into the community for help. He secured funding for Space Week, where all 6th graders get to visit the Space Center and meet real astronauts. He led a food drive, bringing an unprecedented amount of food back to local food pantries. He also was the United Way campaign chairman, raising more than $6.6 million, the largest amount to date.
How can you live united?
Think we before me. Open your heart. Lend your muscle. Give a Saturday. Find your voice. Give an hour. Join hands.
So I encourage you today to give, advocate, volunteer.
Live united!
Dr. DiPatri had a vision for things that he wanted to see happen. Things like Space Week for our 6th grade students, the 5th grade symphony trip, the 11th grade 1776, and every year it seemed like he added a different program, something that was a grade level experience that would enhance the education that our students get. We started with Space Week, and then we went to other programs such as the Blast and the 4th grade Lagoon experience, and all kinds of different things that are grade level experiences, as I said, that all students can go to. And the Brevard Schools Foundation helps with the funding for that, because there simply isn't enough money in the budget for us, the school district, to be able to pay for everything. And so Dr. DiPatri brought the Schools Foundation in, and we've become a major player in the finding the support for those programs. Dr. DiPatri has always felt that, you know, what we do in our schools is important, but it's the whole family, the whole connection that makes our children successful and ready to learn.
In 2006, Dr. DiPatri was named Florida School Superintendent of the Year. With that award, he received a gold ring, one, he said, that he never takes off.
Actually, I'm very proud of this. It's probably my most significant accomplishment as Superintendent of the Year in 2006, and I am really proud of that. You know, if you've ever been to any of the Teacher of the Year, the way I look at that is you've earned something that no one can ever take away. It's a badge of honor, and you know, whether it's deserved or not is another thing. But since I have it, I'm very, very proud of it.
DiPatri wrote an outgoing message to his staff. He told them that they were what he would miss the most.
People think sometimes you're not sincere, but I really believe the people in this community, in this school district, are just terrific. And I'm just kind of feel blessed that I had the opportunity to work with them. My senior staff is the best. I mean, they just never quit. They're there when they're there for me. I hope I'm there for them. They have given me 110%, and our principals, you know, you get to a point where that's the hardest part about leaving, because you know, I hold people accountable, and I believe I'm pretty tough about that. But when they deliver, it's like a relationship that you of mutual respect. That I'm proud of that, and I'm going to miss those people.
Dr. DiPatri's education career ends June 30th. Incoming Superintendent Brian Bingley will take over the district on July 1st. Many have said that DiPatri will be a tough act to follow.
Well, somebody asked how we're going to fill his shoes, and we're not. I told them I think what we'll do is bronze his shoes and put him in a place of honor, and then move on. And you know, we're certainly going to welcome Dr. Bingley, and we're looking forward to supporting him and helping him lead us in a new direction.
All of us here at Florida Today would like to thank Dr. DiPatri for allowing us access into Brevard schools so that we could bring stories from the classrooms to our readers and hold school officials accountable. But our in-depth coverage doesn't stop now. You can get updates of education news on our cram session blog. That's at floridatoday.com/education. I'm Megan Downs with Florida Today. Thanks for watching.